I think it's, a testament to the character of this team. We've come a long way through however many losses in a row. The resilience of this team with the external noise, everyone counting us out. Hopefully this is an opportunity for us to not waste. Hopefully we can go on a run with this win and find our rhythm towards the back end of the season now.
When we're playing at our best ball, we can beat anybody. We just got to continue to believe and continue to fight. And obviously, the margin for error is zero. So, it's one game, but, we got to keep it going. For us to go where we want to go, just got to keep believing, keep fighting, one play at a time, and believe.
It is a stunning development that the Dolphins are where they are. Their owner, Stephen Ross, was saying this is a Super Bowl-ready team before the season began. The Tua Tagovailoa concussion week 2, that Thursday night against the Bills, changed the vibe. They couldn't play offense at a high school level, it felt like, without Tua. Now Tua's back. It's his third game. And I want to say something about Tua and his approach toward concussions. He said before the game he doesn't want to be the poster boy for concussions. We don't get to choose whether or not we are or aren't the poster boy. The poster is what the poster is. And the history is what the history is. And, Devin, there were a couple of times last night, and I knew this was going to happen. Tua comes back, and a lot of it's going to feel like parent watching child play football. And every play, your heart stops beating. Every play, your lungs stop working. Every play, you're just frozen in time waiting to make sure that your child is okay. He had a moment where he took like a double hit with a fumble, or was it the fumble or sack? He got like rolled over, and there were a few moments last night where you're just waiting for the fencing posture, you're waiting for the latest concussion, and then there's a turnover, and Tua, what are you doing? What are you doing? I thought we settled this for all quarterbacks. Get the hell out of the way of the guy with the ball. He took a knee to the head. No. What are you doing? Have you learned nothing about the ways to avoid getting yourself injured even farther? And I understand that you don't want to just concede a touchdown there. But if that's the choice, concede touchdown or possibly lose Tua to another concussion for another month or longer, take the damn touchdown. That's what I don't understand. I remember he did that in a preseason game when Flores was the head coach. And he was like, yeah, he needs to go make that tackle or words to that effect. And it's like, no. You need to keep your quarterback healthy. I don't remember a lot of times Tom sticking his head in there. Not that he could run over. That's the thing. He had the perfect defense. I'm not fast enough to get over there. But you don't see, like, the great quarterbacks, it's just get down and not even – I'm not even getting in the middle of that. I'm not even going to do that because they understand the value of their ability to continue to play.
Yeah, I think they need to do a better job as a staff to drill that in his head. I think that's not a natural reaction for a competitor, a quarterback, like whoever. I think we've seen Tom and Peyton Manning and Rodgers, these guys, like as their career continued and they got older and they knew kind of the ultimate goal, it was, all right, I can't throw my body in here right now, week 10. Like, we have more games to play. And you don't always see that in the middle of the game, like the bigger picture and all that. But, like, those quarterbacks understood what they brought to the team. I think Tua has to get out of the mode of, like, hey, I'm just like this football player that goes and plays. Because, for one, the way he attempted that tackle, if you remember, it's kind of the same way Rashee Rice got hurt for the season, of the quarterback just lowering their head and diving in there. Like, we don't want you to do that anyway. Like, even if you're a quarterback who hasn't had any concussion injuries, like, I don't want you to dive in there with your head down, not see what you hit. Like, don't do that. To me, if Tua runs over there, hey, go over there. If there's a chance for you to push a guy out of bounds, do it. Soon as you run over there, if any defensive player makes eye contact with you, stop. Like, all of the best quarterbacks I've seen, they take a little effort over there. As soon as someone sees them giving effort, they stop. They know the rule protects you. If you're not going after the tackle, the defender cannot go out there and just kill you or drive you. Like, if you're not showing effort to get to the ball, they have to leave you alone. So that's what I would tell my quarterback. Hey, run over there. If there's a chance that the guy's a half an inch from the sideline, push him out. If you push him out, they cut back. hey, we've seen so many, not athletic quarterbacks, but so many quarterbacks, a guy cuts back, they just fall on the ground and stick their arm out like, hey, I get it. But I agree with you. Because of the way this team looked, I just think not even just coaching staff, players. Like if I'm Calais Campbell, if I'm Jalen Ramsey, after that play, we make them kick a field goal. I come back on the sideline, I'm like, hey, Tua, love the effort. We don't need it, bro. Like we do not need it. We need you to be on the field because when we prepare for a game, the whole complexion of the game changes on Wednesday. When all of us are sitting in meetings and you're not going to go play on Sunday, the whole feeling is different. We need to know that you're going to be out there. So if that happens, just let it go. If they score, like you said. But one of the things that stuck out for me last night was Tua's holding the ball in the pocket. Like, this isn't some guy who's sitting there saying, I can't take a hit. I'm getting the ball out every play, 2 seconds. A lot of their offense requires the ball to be out fast naturally. But the times that it didn't, Tua had no problem standing in the pocket, waiting, looking, moving around. So the problem sometimes is the more you play, you get more and more confident and you go and you do it. And again, it's good for the football team, but I think ultimately because not just his concussion history, the way this team is built, he has to be smart because if he's not out there for any reason, they have no chance to win. So he has to continue to be smart with what he does, running the ball, holding the ball, all of that, because they need him on the field. It's a must to have him on the field.
And I love how you put that because in that setting, go ahead, take the touchdown, defense. I need to be on the field or we have no chance to win. And I almost feel like he's too aware of the concussion angle. He's trying to find a sweet spot where he can go out and play to his highest degree of ability and not be distracted by thoughts of protecting himself. And I feel like last night he just threw caution to the wind. He realized, and this is just my speculation based upon what we saw the first 2 games back, he realized that consciously playing it safe hinders his ability to play at the highest possible level. So I have to just go out there and play. And if it happens, it happens. He had that defiant press conference a few weeks ago where, hey, you get hit by a car and yeah, okay, fine. But that risk is far more remote than the risk you accept every time you walk across that thick white stripe and pull your helmet on and fasten your chin strap and get ready to go. That risk is very real, especially if you're not playing in a way where you're trying to deliberately avoid contact. But I think for Tua, thinking about it, talking about it, and incorporating into the flow of the game. There's been a conversation about Joe Burrow doesn't want to complain for calls. Zach Taylor said it disrupts the flow of the game. Well, you better make it part of the flow of your game. Arguing for calls is going to get you calls. Protecting yourself and doing things to protect yourself is going to avoid the concussions and keep you on the field. It's just that's the thing. I didn't think he was going to make it to the end of the game without getting another concussion. If he keeps playing the way he did last night, Devin, it is inevitable. And if it doesn't happen, he got very lucky. But if he keeps playing like he did last night, one of these games, it's going to happen again, whether it's Thanksgiving night on NBC, whether it's some other game, a 1 o'clock Eastern game this weekend against whoever they play. That's the concern. And he doesn't get to choose. He doesn't get to say, please, will you stop associating me with concussions? If he's going to keep playing in a way that gets him concussions, it's only going to get worse.
And for me, because I understand, like I've been a guy who had a concussion and then you come back and you play. There's a nervous time while you're out there of, I don't want this to happen again. Like you do, you're thinking about it every single play, and then the confidence kind of builds up and you go. But I just think Tua, outside of just the concussions, he has a unique role on this team. And I think if you talk to any quarterback whose team has a chance to win a Super Bowl, yes, you got to go play football, but like there's a level of like I have to always make sure I'm available to play football. So when you watch older quarterbacks, like veteran quarterbacks, like they're not sitting in there waiting to see how hard you're going to hit them. They're getting rid of the ball. They're doing different things to make sure that they live to see another down, that they can continue to be out there with their team. And I think that is something that Tua has to start to establish and do. It's the same way we talk about Lamar Jackson and some of these and Josh Allen. Like these guys, there's no concussion history. They're dynamic running the ball. But we always talk about like, all right, like we get it. Sometimes football happens, but these guys have to be smart because their teams need them out there. The beginning of the season, Josh Allen was jumping over guys, making plays. Every single media outlet was talking about, I don't know if this is the way he needs to play. He has to be smarter. So I think for Tua, it's even magnified because the injury history, because you've been out. The team, we've seen what the team looks like without you. You have to do an unbelievable job of being available for this team. Your ability doesn't matter if you're not out there. So I just think he has to be aware of that. I think it's hard to worry about each time he gets sacked or all of that stuff. Like once you go play football, it's a tough thing to say, but once you decide to go play, you got to go play football. But I think at the quarterback position, there's a way to play that allows you to continue to be out there as much as you can control it. And I think the team have to be on him about that. Like, hey, it's a good win, but hey, there's moments in this game where you can be smarter, which essentially will make us a better team next week and the week after. And I would think those conversations are happening. He's only 3 games back from being out. So, like, to me, these are still moments where they're trying to show him and teach him the way that they want him to play going forward. It's not like we're 8-9 games into this thing and he's still playing that way. I think he's still learning exactly what he needs to do.
I don't want to turn this into psychoanalyze Tua Tagovailoa hour, but I've just sensed, Devin, he's got this kind of acceptance that if this is his fate, this is his destiny, whatever happens, happens. I'm not going to care about it. I'm not going to worry about it. If I get more concussions, if I have some long-term health effect, if there's some tragic ending to my career, this is what I have embraced. This is what fate has in store for me. And I just don't like that because we shouldn't accept that there's some destiny that's this giant magnet that's pulling us toward it. There are ways to control your life. There are ways to avoid the moments that will cause the injuries that lead to what you believe is your destiny. That can be altered. He's deciding to play with this almost reckless abandon and accepting whatever comes from it. It's just not good. And it's incumbent on the coaching staff to try to get him to play a safer way. And no one can be surprised if we see another fencing posture, concussion from Tua, and we get back to where we were in September. The conversation comes back. When's he going to play again? Should he retire? Should he take the rest of the season off? He can't, and I understand, it's one thing to say, I realize that there are a certain type of risks that go into playing football. But to say you acknowledge the risks are there and there's some sort of badge of honor for running right into them, literally head first, that's where it falls apart for me. We know there are risks, but you still have an obligation to yourself, your family, your team to manage the risks. He doesn't want to manage the risks. It's like, that's just dragging me down. That's keeping me from being the best quarterback I can be. I hope I've articulated that the way that I intended. It's not a knock on him. There's just, someone needs to get him to understand it's not your fate to just throw yourself into the fray and hope that it all works out. There are ways you can control the outcome that he doesn't seem to want to bother with.
I'll say this, too. As a former player, I try not to take everything guys say in an interview to heart because I think there's an element of when you come back, you want the outside perception to be, I'm back, I'm all in. Like, you don't want people questioning that. You don't want your teammates questioning that. And This is a little different because this is a very serious issue. Chris Olave, Denzel Ward, similar boat as Tua. The difference is Tua, because of some of the postures he's ended up with in these primetime games, he's become the face of what everybody wants to talk about. Everyone talks about kind of just him. And I think there's an element for him of like, hey, I'm a guy who just wants to keep playing the sport I love. And I think he is very kind of aggressive a little bit with his answers and what he says. I don't think it's the true feeling for him. From talking to guys that know him and have been around him, it seems that he sees more than life than just football. I think a little bit of his answers are kind of like the football answers that I'm going to just give. I don't know if he fully believes in what he's saying, and I get what you're saying of like, well, I'm watching him out there and he's still playing a certain way. It's hard to just change the way you've played football your whole life. I agree with you. There's certain things that he can't do out there on the field that he needs to avoid and get away from. To me, that's going to take a little bit of time to kind of work that out of his system. The truth of when you play football, you hope you have the time to do that before the next big hit or something like that happens. But I do think he takes this serious. I think he has conversations, real conversations with people that I don't think he comes to these media sessions. I don't think he comes vulnerable and wants to be open and discussing how he's feeling. I think it's just tough. It's tough for guys that come and talk about that. We haven't heard Olave talk about it. We haven't heard Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward continues to come back. Olave's taking some time to make a decision because we've seen some clips of the tough hits he's taken. But it's hard to talk about the end of your career when you're in your 20s feeling like, man, like I got this thing moving. I'm excited about what's to come next. You kind of avoid it. And I think Tua has kind of shifted all the way in the opposite direction because for the last few years, this is all he gets asked about is constant, that I think he has just built up a callous towards his interviews that I'm just going to go and say these same things. But I don't think he's all into those beliefs like that. I think he's still transitioning and learning how to play the right way.
But the actions aren't reflecting that. The actions are meshing with the defiance that we've seen. I hope someone can get through to him. It's his right to do it. I'm not saying he's not fully within his prerogative to play football that way and to have that attitude. I just don't think that it's good for anybody. It's not good for him. It's not good for the Dolphins. It's not good for the NFL. It's not good for anyone to have someone who says, yes, those are the risks. And instead of saying, I'm going to try to minimize them, they say, damn the torpedoes. Bring it on. I know it's the risk, and come get me. Come get me. It just makes me queasy because it makes me feel like I know it's just a matter of time before we're sitting here. Whether it's you, whether it's Sims, whether it's Holly, whether it's Rodney, it's going to be one of these mornings where we're sitting here talking about how Tua has another concussion and when will he be back, should he come back, or even worse, he's had the brain injury that has caused his career to automatically end because there's no way he's coming back from that. Hopefully that can be avoided, but we'll see. One last point I want to make about injuries too, because this is something that I continue to be sensitive to, in part because no one else seems to give a shit. Sorry, Liverpool. We saw last week Nick Sirianni, the coach of the Eagles, had some weird slip of the tongue about Jalen Hurts' ankle. Why didn't he practice Wednesday? Oh, he has an ankle. Oh, he wasn't on the report as having an ankle. Oh, it wasn't an ankle then. It was rest. Does he have an ankle injury? No, I got him confused with somebody else. As if you're going to confuse your quarterback with anybody else on the team. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.